I'm gonna just let Turner know about this because they are owed this.
Yep.
Hi, what do you think of this idea?
Oh,
you
sure,
know,
I'll come in.
this law firm where we just spend our time cooking and protesting and all kind. I honestly think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, it's kind of like doing what we're doing now without all the other bullshit.
Yep.
You want to step and do records here?
No, this is probably something I'm going to blast all over Twata anyways.
Okay.
Do you remember the Dominic Rhodes case?
Dominic
Oh,
Rhodes.
yes, I do, because they've sneaked in case law.
That
about
dumb
it
fuck,
last
Justice
night.
Weiss, after 6 months, only now put it into case law.
Yeah, but I saw that when I was looking up another bit like half
Yeah.
hour ago.
They contacted me, said that was going to be announced. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months later, which means that this very case law would have directly affected the case that followed it. So I'll let you guys chew on that one for a minute. It's heads are gonna be rolling here soon. Yeah.
And I realized that was that old when it was brought to me.
It was so old that the ruling of the of that case and the lack of it going into case law directly affected the ADMC case that happened right afterwards. So,
oh, yeah, that was another fuck up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they have more case laws coming too, so I'm told.
Yep. Well,
Quite quickly, right after them.
Well, we'll see. I mean, these impeachments certainly will come up, but it's too little, too late. Yeah. So, anyways, y'all enjoy. I'll me and Michael gotta start cooking a bit. All right.
Okay,
there is likely going to be legislation coming out in regarding robberies, as there's rulings being made by judges that counter umbrella charges. We're just going to go ahead and spell robberies out full and full, so that non-violent robberies, you have an umbrella charge, done and done. Non-violent robberies, we're going to be spelling out what that means exactly.
What do you mean by non-violent? Robberies inherently are.
Like non-OIS inducing. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So you've got like robbery of a financial firm, robbery of a security firm. Someone was recently.
Like it used to be before, where we use the umbrella until it was violent,
Yes.
and then we break it down.
That's how it's supposed to have still been, but for
They
some
changed
reason,
it.
people.
The judges told us to do it this way.
It's fucking brain dead.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go fix that. I think
Yeah,
it's gonna make
actually
y'all's life
argued it with
easier.
somebody.
What way has the judge told us to do it?
So originally I was still doing it how I've always done it since years ago, where non-violent would be umbrella, which is just the robbery of a security firm. But when it turned violent, i.e. shooting officers, etc., which I know it is violent, kidnapping. However, shooting officers, it's obviously even more violent.
Yep.
So we would not use the umbrella and go straight with robbery, attempted murders, which those get on there anyway, but then they're getting reckless evading, they're getting kidnapping, everything,
It gets
every
broken
single
down on top of the
Yeah.
umbrella charge.
No, you'd
No.
scrap the umbrella charge and you'd have it all
Break
broke down
everything
separate
down.
stuff.
Yep.
Yes.
And that
so-
used to amount. So the umbrella charge used to be a lower
Less.
time and
Right.
fine than combining all the other charges separately. So that's
Okay.
why the umbrella was in place of.
So what
in
are
the
we currently
past.
doing then?
So currently we're doing umbrella charge no matter what happens. So non-violent, it's an umbrella charge. Violent, it's an umbrella charge. Then you add you add the OIS on top. So it's umbrella impositions plus OIS for violent. And then it's just umbrella impositions for non-violent.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to get that all spelled out in legislation. The idea
Yeah.
being that if it's just a generic robbery, these are the charges. Here's what makes it break out of that, right? So, so that's going to go around. Some of this is a
Unfortunately,
concept.
We have to spell that out.
It is.
It is.
Yesterday, someone was a justice ruled that because someone had a Class 2 firearm and they didn't need to bring a Class 2 firearm to a bank robbery, that the umbrella.
What?
These are dogs. These are puppies that don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're fucking.
Wait, what did they rule that because he brought it and didn't need to? What was the ruling?
You don't need a Class 2 to rob a bank truck, and therefore it doesn't fit under the umbrella, and a bunch of charges were stacked. So that just
Well, the Class 2 wouldn't be included in the umbrella.
It doesn't matter what.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if they were saying that it was. Possessions are always separate from the umbrella. So I'm kind of confused now what that's even about. But I went back and forth with Ventura on this.
Yeah.
And then I had to call a judge because Ventura kept telling me to use the umbrella. And I'm like, why? I always break it down when they shoot cops.
No, when they shoot cops. We're talking when they do not shoot cops.
So the charge for a security firm specifically mentions melee weapons are included.
Yeah.
And then goes on to say that firearms are not included in it. So I don't know why there was any confusion about that.
Yeah. So all that's going to get spelled out. I don't think it's an interesting argument that needs to be made in court. It shouldn't be something you guys are wasting your time on. It's going to be nice and simple because these umbrella charges are a means to decentivize escalated violence, right? And to simplify y'all's life. So,
yeah.
Again, I guess I'm a bit confused here because that's pretty damn spelled out on the robbery of a security firm charge.
So I think what Nino's trying to say here, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get violent, your initial charge for what you were doing should be inherently larger than non-violent. So say I robbed a bank with a wrench, then I would get, say, to make it easy, 100 mounts, 10,000. And that would include everything other than a firearm. If I went in there and done the same robbery but shot someone, instead of getting an umbrella charge, that would be the 100 mounts and 10,000 fine. The charges that covers should come to, say, 150 mounts and 20,000 fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Well, we'll see what gets cooked up then. And
all right. That'll probably be
clear cut.
It'll be probably in the next week. So
sounds good.
Are y'all of the opinion that, like, if people bring Class 2s to a bank truck, they should be charged for the Class 2 if they don't fire it?
Honestly, with how things are currently, yes. Now, the problem is bank trucks now is basically a full-scale gang war full of bank trucks.
If they bring a Class 1, what happens right now? How do you handle that?
At the moment, it's the same, but of course, the Class 1's a lower fining time. So the umbrella charge, the umbrella charge only covers melee weapons currently.
Okay.
It does not cover firearms.
Yeah, it's specifically right. The firearm. Hold on, give me a second. Can you bring Tony over here, Michael? Could you give him you can lay it out a little bit cleaner as to what yesterday's results were.
My phone's a little bit sticky.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, at the moment,
it doesn't say possession of it. It doesn't say it encompasses possession. So I'm confused. What you guys? Oh wait.
I'll have Tony. Explain it.
Yeah.
You can probably pull up the particular set of charges that came out of it.
Yeah. So the security firm, you can brandish a melee weapon. By use of a firearm, I think they're including if you brandish a firearm during a bank truck, then that there is already going into like a different thing.
Tony's up at BCS, so he's representing someone right now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Do you know who was the
can you
what case went to bench? I'm looking for
that. That's what I'm trying to look up. This is gonna make it a little bit clearer as to what transpired.
Who is it, the defendant in this? Do you know who he's representing?
I'm gonna ask.
Okay.
Why is the umbrella using this? In the past, Maxwell, what was the gun? I'm talking about like 2 years ago. Was the gun a part of the umbrella?
No.
Lucian
Possessions
Weiss.
were always
Okay.
on top of the
Separate,
umbrella.
Okay.
Exactly.
What is it? Okay. So what the fuck was he talking about? What is being stacked then?
The defendant was Lucian Weiss.
Lucian wise. Let me see here.
Oh, you mean the
I see it here.
What's it? He's a doc. He was a doctor, yeah. And in the middle of the bank truck, he phoned up to resign from his job, saying he's about to be caught from a bank robbery.
And what was he charged with?
Hello.
Looking like possession of tampered firearm, possession of firearm components and attachments. So he had attachments on it.
Mm-hmm.
Criminal possession of firearm class 2. I wonder what possessions he had. We'll have to look at that. Possession of pharmaceutical drugs, and then robbery of a security firm. So it's possessions plus the robbery. Did he have a class 1 and a class 2? Is that why he got tampered and class 2?
Yes, I believe he did. I had a quick look at it earlier. I think he had a shotgun and a deagle possible.
Okay, well,
I think
from the surface here, those, yeah, it looks like, oh, he had a Glock 19. Glock 19 and an assault rifle. So,
So,
I mean, he charges
I guess the question becomes, what is the umbrella encompassing?
I mean, it outlines it though in the charge itself. It's encompassing.
Yeah, but is it an umbrella
brandishing of melee
at that
weapons,
point?
unlawful imprisonment, aggravated petty robbery, and evading/resisting. So, is it all encompassing umbrella? No, but it's an umbrella that encompasses several charges.
My way, how I've always viewed this, just for my own sanity, has been that the umbrella encompasses the minimum equipment that they
I'm starting to
require
wonder if
conduct the job. So you need a hostage. Well, you need some sort of weapon. What weapon would do? Well, a melee weapon will do. Right, you'll need to escape, so you're going to recklessly evade, and then whatever you're actually doing.
I'm wondering now, like, even looking at this, what Tony's argument was. Because it sounded like a bunch of things got stacked, but based on the charges that you just outlined, it doesn't seem like anything was stacked.
Lucian Weiss, yeah, that's unless
Box, check your email.
he got charges dropped and they're not processed. On
Maybe that's what happened.
That's the only thing I can think of here.
How often are people challenging this? The umbrella charges?
Honestly, I don't think anyone really challenges it being an umbrella charge.
The use of a... Wait, hold on a second. But robbery of a security firm says the use of a firearm will not be included in this umbrella, nor any additional committed violence.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
where...
by use, they're also covering brandishing.
But where is the possession?
In Tony's explanation, he said that the
I'm seeing it now.
Was GSR negative. Yeah. The defendant was GSR negative. So I think Tony is trying to make his argument based on possession not being use of a firearm, which in many jurisdictions is true.
Yeah,
though I'm not sure how it's defined
possession
here.
Not being used.
Right. So was he charged with use of a firearm or possession of a firearm?
I'm not sure. Again, the charges I see are stout. Now, again, that's a matter of if those are the charges he actually got charged with, or if that's what ended up from the bench trial. I don't see anything in the notes here.
So I think so it says here, this charge will encompass any charges that will occur as a part of the robbery, including right? A bunch of things. The use of a firearm will not be in this umbrella. So what does the use of a firearm, right? What
yes.
is...
Hello, citizens.
How you doing, Jake?
Howdy.
Hey, I want to get an expungement. I want to run for mayor.
Well, I wish you good luck
Okay.
with that. Your best bet is to go down to the city hall and speak with a judge. I
Okay.
believe Nathaniel Grayson should be around.
All right. All right.
So
Catch
from
you on the flip side.
from a language standpoint, they say nor any additional. So if you're reading that in good faith, I would say that the assumption is use of a firearm is committed violence.
Yeah.
But again, that's the English interpretation of the language as it's written. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the spirit of what was intended.
The use of this firearm will not be included in this umbrella. Use meaning if you open fire.
Correct.
That is how I would interpret it.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially because it says nor any additional committed violence.
Right.
Okay. I do see where there could be an argument about possessions, though.
I think, well, either way, whatever the argument is, this is what's going to get clarified in that legislation. So,
So you're saying essentially, being that the language says this charge will encompass any charges that occur as part of the robbery.
yes, exactly.
As
I think,
part of the robbery. I could also see how possessions wouldn't be part of the robbery. They chose to bring those, right? I
How do you
guess
do
I
that?
see where.
how do you do a robbery without weapons?
Well, that's why it includes melee weapons in this. So it's a minimum, as Doc
Yeah.
was saying, in the umbrella.
Yeah.
That
think-
makes sense. What I'm saying is you don't need drugs. You don't need a class 2 weapon. You don't need all these things. These are, I guess, as you would say, not a necessity. However, there does need to be a mechanism of force.
Mhm.
So I believe they have that covered under melee weapons. That's just my interpretation of what I'm reading here.
Yeah. It's it really is coming down to, are these umbrella or are they not? And I think getting that clarity in legislation is the move, as opposed to what is currently 2 sentences.
I mean, the truth is, I think it's important that there is a weapon charge involved here, not just included with this
So
security firm charge.
basically what this charge needs is, at the end of it, is if they want possessions not included, is this does not cover possessions on the person, and then that would be
what does
straightforward.
if the intent of these umbrella charges is to subvert increased violence to the police department and others, why does the possession of the inclusion of narcotics or other things, why does that matter?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're doing it the way we've been told, so possessions aren't
Yeah.
included. So I'm saying if they want it to be that way, there should be something in legislation or in the penal code that says possessions aren't included, because I can see the argument that currently with the wording they are included and we shouldn't be pushing them.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think at that point the charge is going to change drastically if you're including possessions as
Yeah.
well. Then the
Yeah,
possession
they
of
will,
class 2 within itself is a more severe charge than that
Exactly.
entire umbrella charge.
Agreed.
And I also don't think we should be charging someone for possession of a melee weapon the same thing as a class 2. I think there's a stark difference there.
I think the intent of umbrella charges have historically been a means to subvert violence. And I think if that is the principle by which these charges are intended, then regardless of if they're carrying more or less is irrelevant.
So I can see with your argument then, Nino, that if the umbrella's charge, it would have to increase the time and fine, obviously, to cover possessions if they currently are taken into account as being separate. So you need to increase the time of fine. But if you base it on, say,
Forget the time and fine, right? The what is the
Worded
reason for the
as well.
charge?
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm trying to think the best way to get to what you want it to be. So increase the base time in fine and robbery a security firm, and it covers all possessions.
Correct.
And then we set that at some sort of base. So you wouldn't put class 2 possession. Say you base it off class 1. Say they have minimal drugs or whatever, and then you set it for amount, and then you discount off of that whatever you want so that you're incentivizing non-violence. That way, if you do have a class 2, you're actually going to be better off than currently are, because you're being based off the fact you would have had a class 1 under the umbrella, but we wouldn't be taking that into account.
Yeah.
However, if you get violent, then you're being hit with that class 2 possession separately, and that instantly jumps up your time.
The moment you commit violence, you're getting fucked. If you do not commit violence, you're incentivized with a more reasonable fine and time.
Yeah,
But,
so say you got a base incentive of, say, 20% off the total it would be. And then if it gets violent, of course, you're being hit with the full amount, plus all the additional possessions you've got.
Yeah.
So instead of, say, you've got, say, 2 drugs on you as the basis of the umbrella, you've now got 15 oxy on you. You're being charged a higher amount.
Let's do this. Once we get it all written up, you guys can take a look at it. But that's kind of the...
I'm going to quickly voice my opinion here.
Yep, go ahead.
There's a stark difference between someone showing up with a melee weapon, a class 1, and a class 2. The fact that they're enabled to even fight back there a lot of the times with a class 2 as opposed to a class 1, it shows that they're willing to go that far. Maybe include class 1s and melees, but class 2s I think should be separate. That's a big step up.
I would agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of people are getting jumped and they're using it to protect themselves. Now, because we can't be doing thought crime. That's counterintuitive, right? If someone has a class 2, are you saying that because someone's bringing a class 2 that they want to shoot cops?
Yeah, they're making the conscious decision to bring a class 2. These aren't spontaneous moments where they're defending themselves.
But if they don't shoot you, then if they,
again, you don't need to bring a class 2 to rob a bank. They're making the conscious decision to bring a class 2 as opposed to a class 1.
A class 2 points towards greater willingness to get into a gun battle, I think, is the issue.
Then
I
it's
can
not
understand that point of view. That's how I feel in general as well.
So we want to. So here's the thing. Is this intended to be an umbrella charge? Yes or no? But running off the assumption of what people are thinking to press charges is not how how shit works, right? What is it? We have probable cause that they're intending to murk somebody because they have a bigger gun. How do you chop that up?
I chop it up as we're getting shot by these weapons day in and day out, and we want to combat them, and we don't want to pussyfoot around it and allow them to walk around with class 2s and rob banks, which enables them to fight back against us.
But the mechanism to do so, if they shoot you, it's not an umbrella charge anymore. I'm confused.
Then don't call it an umbrella charge.
That
we should be pushing back here, Nino. We're dealing with class 2s day in and day out getting shot by these. We need further repercussions for using class 2s, not lesser.
I'm pretty sure we pulled like 30 off the street last week. Maybe?
What am I what the? Okay.
Honestly,
are you suggesting that we should get rid of umbrella charges altogether?
I'm saying we keep referring back to umbrella charges. I'm not saying getting rid of them. I'm saying that they're notate what's included in them. It should be noted and in black and white as to what's included and what's not included.
Yeah, and we didn't vote on these. I'm just gonna say
nobody did.
I am fine with not. I don't need shit dumbed down for me. I'm capable of doing my charges separately, but this is what they're expecting us to do. What I'm told by a judge and another captain. So I don't. You know what else to do but do it the way DOJ is telling us.
Yeah, DOJ shouldn't be telling you shit. That's part of the problem. I want to underline here that the goal here is to bring clarity to these charges, because these penal code charges were added without any legislation. which is why these conversations and these debates are taking place, right? If the OJ is coming in and saying, well, we wrote 2 sentences and, one justice is saying this and another justice is saying that, that's a problem. Now, as to politically, whether you believe that there should be things to counter class 2s being on the street, that's a separate conversation, right?
Okay. I'd be curious to see the details on this case as to why this exactly came up the way it did. As to what transpired with
well, it's coming up because this is another dog shit penal code charge that's not backed by legislation and was just randomly thrown up. And so as a consequence of that, y'all have to operate based on 2 sentences. Judges are going to have their own opinion as to what should and should not be included, not based on the law, but based on their feelings. And by starting with a clear guideline as to what the criminal code looks like, at that point, there's clarity. What is it? What isn't it? So,
okay,
yeah, but
I mean, clarity is always good. I'm all for clarity. Like I said, umbrella charges are however you want to go about it with umbrella charges, whether you want to call it umbrella, whether you want to make a charge that encompasses several charges, that's obviously up to those who were putting forth those charges there. But again, I'll stand strong here that if somebody shows up to a bank robbery with a class 2, I think there should be harsher punishment.
There needs to be an entirely separate, and I'm not trying to downplay this class 2 thing, because I think that's what I recognize that you guys have a class 2 problem, but that in and of itself is a much broader conversation. And part of that conversation needs to come into play, which is, are you guys getting raids, right? Number 2, do you have the mechanisms needed in order to raid someone to get class 2s? Number 3, are the fines and times for class 2s appropriate, right? I think having that conversation as a part of these umbrella things is not it. We need a more comprehensive conversation around those.
Well, I do think there needs to be more comprehensive conversation. I also don't. Again, I would say this is still part of it. If you're trying to include class 2s in it, that's problematic as well.
I'm coming from the angle of, are these umbrella charges or are they not umbrella charges, right? And
that's fair.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not trying to get too deep.
There, so.
That's why I'm trying not to get too deep into the class 2 conversation, because once again, that's much more broader.
Let's see what gets cooked up in legislation then. And
I'm going to give you an example, right? Let me give you an example, and this might underline my philosophy a little bit different. Every single charge in the penal code should have like a civil criminal philosophy as to why it exists and what it is attempting to do, right? And then based on that, there should be legislation providing a guideline, right? But if we, and that's kind of like the philosophy of how law is created. If each particular charge that we have, we get into the nuance of what should and shouldn't be included, we then open up the danger of like, well, what if someone has fentanyl, right? There's too much fentanyl on the street. That should or should not be in the. It kind of convolutes the conversation. I think more appropriately, if you guys are having these class 2 problems, maybe you need legislation on, if someone's caught with too many, class 2s, they get a bigger charge, right?
Okay. That's something I'd be on board for.
Yeah. So, but that's something you guys got to cook up. You know what I mean? I can't solve that problem for you guys. Okay. You have a mechanism and put forward legislation.
As the mayor here, the kind of mechanism we put forth,
I don't know what you guys face on a day-to-day basis, right?
Class 2s on every situation. There
Okay.
almost is no class 1s anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Every situation involves class 2s.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to
extreme
see less
violence.
class 2s on the street?
Absolutely.
Okay. What's preventing you guys from raiding people?
We have been.
Okay.
There has been a handful. I believe we just
Mhm.
got 40 of them off the street the other day. Is that right?
Yeah, they weren't all
Okay.
class
Red.
2, but they were guns. Yes.
I spoke to you
Okay.
about search warrants and people's confidence in them. It's something we're working up as well to push more pressure, or to put some more pressure on officers to start putting out good search warrants.
Okay.
Uh,
So,
so
and how many
that'll
class
be coming.
2s have been seized thus far as a consequence of raids?
Off the top of my head, I would guess around 60.
60 out of raids. And how many
Yeah.
subjects?
You talking about how many raids?
Yeah, like how many people were raided for class 2s?
How many have
And
we
which-
done specifically for class 2s there? Either of you know, Maxwell?
Offhand, I'm not sure. I know
This-
we got a few in the works though.
This month, I would say we've done at least 3 to 4 raids just from class 2s that I
Mm.
was aware of personally. I don't know about
Okay.
other shifts or.
I want to push that to 3 to 4 a week.
So,
But they got to be good search warrants. I'm not
Right.
looking for search warrants that are going to blow up on our face later.
I definitely
so
think it's
three-
possible.
3 or
Mhm.
4 raids have been done in the last 30 days in which class 2s were found in number?
I would have to go through reports. I'm just saying what I'm aware of. Yes.
Okay.
Specifically working with somebody in shift 1 earlier that I'm aware of. I'm unsure about other
Yeah.
raids.
So like I told you, from March 1st to March 20th, we got 200 and I believe 16 is the number, class 2s off the street. There's a lot of them out there. We didn't get anywhere near as many class 1s. I don't have the number for you. on that
This
one,
is
but,
so
we're just seeing an influx of class 2s.
Yeah.
That we're dealing with on a day-to-day, and extreme violence. It's not that these people are just brandishing them; they're using them. They feel
In broad
empowered with
daylight.
them.
Yep.
They're shooting. They're getting to gang fights.
I don't
even
know-
in front of
so
us. in the
help
middle
me
of a chase.
understand this.
Mhm.
Help me understand this. There's the umbrella charge, right? And then there's when the umbrella charge does not get used. When it doesn't get used is in cases where you guys are shot down, right?
Umbrella charge is always used currently.
They're always used right now. We were
Yeah,
told to
they're
always use
used
them.
plus
Mhm.
plus with the the
Possessions.
shooting of you guys, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
you have a
Mhm.
charge for when it's nonviolent, and then you got a charge when it is violent, right? Now, what in context with this conversation we're having right now, what changes if the umbrella charge includes possessions? That's what I'm trying to understand, because in both of these cases, the only thing that's changing is the fine and time, right? If the
Which
umbrella
is our
charge includes
mechanism
class
of pushing
2s,
back.
drugs, everything, right? And the only difference being that if there is no violence against police officers, you're getting a lesser charge. How is that not a good thing? I'm trying to understand how that isn't a good thing. Because to me, if I was coming to and robbing a bank truck, and I know if I don't shoot cops, I'm saving like a couple $100,000. That
Who said it
seems
wasn't
like
a good thing? It is a good
Oh.
thing to obviously not shoot at officers. So they should, in my opinion, get less time and fine
yes,
for not turning into an OIS.
Right.
Which is how we thought it to always be. But again,
Oh.
we were breaking it up until, I don't know, a month and a half ago when a judge told me we should be using the umbrella all
Oh.
the time and not breaking it up.
So you're on the
because
same
it's
page,
about
but
the same.
Turner
Right.
wants the class 2 to be separate, if I'm understanding correctly.
Well,
Right.
no, I'm not talking. Possessions have always been separate, even years ago, Nino. That's why
Okay.
I don't know what we're talking about with the possessions. Guns have always been charged separately.
Are you just looking to streamline everything, Nino?
Yes.
So rather than someone facing 6, 7, 8 charges, you'd like it all included in one?
Correct.
But what if they're not carrying a class 2? They're only carrying a class 1. Will it be 2 different things? Two
No,
different
same thing.
umbrellas?
Same thing.
You're saying a 2 is the equivalent of a 1 in the
Correct.
umbrella,
Shit,
is
this
what
is
you're
so
looking
important.
So when it comes to, well, there's a lot of, and this is why I'm advocating for the umbrella charge, because regardless of what you are bringing, whether it's a class 1 or a class 2, the mere act of not using that weapon against police officers and the hostage, the deterrent to doing so is knowing that you're only going to get hit with like what, $25,000, right? So,
Correct. 25,000.
yes, knowing that, hey, if I don't fire this thing,
Yeah. No, I get what
That's
you're saying.
huge,
Right?
right?
Now, we would still be running the guns and looking to see if it's a
Oh,
hot
of
gun
course.
charge too.
yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
But I mean, listen, I'm not opposed to that personally. If it means, hey, they might think, you know what, I'd rather lose the AK than shoot at these cops, right?
Precisely. Thank you. That's exactly it. That's why.
So the one thing that would be a bit more questionable would be if they're using government equipment. Would that be included?
I think that's something that we can exception out. I think most of this conversation is kind of surrounded around whether or not the class 2 should be placed in there. I am arguing that you want it in there along with whatever drugs and whatever other things, because the mere fact that they didn't use those things on others is a fantastic deterrent.
Yeah.
So
I'm on board. Honestly, I'm going to speak a bit out of line, but that would make life a lot easier as well, because there's a lot of stupid cops that mess up charges at times.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Anyways, either way, we are going to get that sorted out. Turner, you mentioned that there's a bunch of the case laws coming through. Like, what have you heard?
I believe there's a hot gun case law coming,
Okay.
and I don't recall what the other one was. I just spoke to Falconer. It was Falconer I spoke to. He said they're going to be coming out soon. He informed me about the one that was coming out. I asked him to post it in our group email there, which he did. State one. And then the other ones as well, just so I'd have a chance to read it and understand it before it hits the press.
I'll say this now: they shouldn't be releasing common law without releasing a DOJ announcement.
Is it already enacted?
Yes, it's in the legislation now for the one Nino came here to tell us about. What's it called? The Dominic Rhodes, the Rhodes Rule. It's already in the legislation. It was put in there on the 26th of March. But there's no DOJ announcement letting people know there's a new common law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd.
Okay.
I definitely would assume there would be a DOJ announcement that comes with it.
All right. Okay. Any other questions for us? Because we gotta get the cooking.
Nope, not at this time.
All right, easy. Like I said, once it's all written up, we're gonna send it your way. And
right.
you know, if
good.
you have any recommendations around it, please do let us know.
Absolutely.
All right.
Turner, Tony did say he was on the way, so if you want to have a chat with him, he'll be
No,
there.
I'd be curious to see what.
I think the specifics of what Tony brought up is I mean, it might be interesting, but it kind of goes beyond our reasons for changing the legislation to begin with.
Sure.
I think most of the charges that currently exist, specifically those that were added recently, without any backing legislation, we want to fill out a full criminal code around it. And it needs to be clear to the citizenry as well as law enforcement why these charges exist and like what they actually mean. Now, I don't think it's going to change.
How many charges don't have that?
Ooh, a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's like 30 or 40, something along those lines. So
okay, well, I'm all for clarification, having some backing on exactly the charges we're pushing in details. So,
I think finally the one other thing I want to mention is, because I know Opal called us about this, all valid permits are on lossantos.me. So distilleries,
Permits, as
alcohol
in-
licenses,
okay.
weed licenses, and distribution licenses.
Where's that at again?
Okay.
LosSantos.me.
Is it right to assume, even though it's going to be statewide, farmer licenses will be
We
included?
did talk to Sama. They're going to also put their stuff on there. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to try and do is roll all the permits into a single filterable list for you guys. Right now, you'll probably only see distilleries, but everything will be up there soon. TM.
Oh my god, thank you very much.
Of
That's
course.
going to make life so much easier with that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Easy. All right. Let's go, Michael. All right.
Yeah.
Y'all take care.
Bye.
Take care, Nate.
See you guys. I have very, very little time.
Oh, shit. Hey, Tony, they're going to be inside.
Okay.
Nope.
Is everything wrapped up or?
Yeah,
They
they might
want
want
chat.
some details on some things. Do you mind driving up to the fishing spot? And I'm going to let you know. I just got to go think about grabbing something. I don't know why they were so caught up on the...
Where was it on the website? I don't see permits on there.
If you go all the way down, it should say view permits. Yeah.
Hold on, I'll text you, Turner.
View permits.
Just give you a direct link. There you go.
Oh, perfect.